Hi, it's Carl with Poly by Design. We're in San Francisco, California today in the beautiful home of Pastor Tautalaaso Faaleava of the Malama Oleola First Samoan Congregational Church in San Francisco, UCC. I struggled through that, but I got it. Pastor, good morning.
Good morning.
So we are here to talk about several things. Most importantly, the upcoming Samoan language and cultural classes. But for those that did not attend your course earlier this year or the course last year, you've been doing this for a little bit. Tell them a little bit about yourself and what brought you to San Francisco, and eventually doing the classes that you're doing.
Tell them about myself, why I ended up in San Francisco, and what am I doing, right?
Sure.
Did I get that right?
It's like five questions bundled into one.
All right. Why did I come to San Francisco? I was called to be the pastor of the church here. And actually, my background, let's see, I was a Matai at age 17. Well, I was still at high school. And I was suddenly thrusted into that field, which I learned a lot from the elderly Matais. And I got the confidence to be in the presence of elderly people and also some of the high ranks of society. And I was a pastor in 1986. And so we went to a very rural area of Savaii, which we again learned a lot about the culture, and that's the village of Whangae in Sasina. Kudos to those beautiful people. And right now we're trying to pass that knowledge on to the people of Samoa here in the Bay Area and hopefully all over the world, as we're going to try and see if we can go on the media and books and that, because it's a pity when people take the knowledge of their culture with them to the grave. And mostly in growing up, we were it was among the Matais not to share all your wealth with the others. And what happened is there's a drought. And so what I'm trying to do is like throw out everything that I have. And in the words of Miles Monroe, the great pastor, says, go to the grave empty. Thank you, sir. I hope I've answered your questions.
Definitely. You must have passed that on to your son. I saw Ty post something about not leaving anything behind, how sometimes graveyards are where you find a lot of great ideas that were never brought to word. So great thoughts. So there are a lot of people that are looking forward to the June Samoan language and culture classes. Some have heard kind of the rumbling of what's gone on in those classes, and there's been a lot of interest. We've got a lot of questions on our social media as to what exactly goes on in the class. Can you talk a little bit about both the language and the cultural side of what you teach in the classes coming up?
Yeah, because I've been a language instructor for so long, and I've also been an interpreter at the court. And being a language instructor, way back in 1982, I was a language instructor for Peace Corps in Samoa. And also there's a lot of people that I've helped out, even in the Pacific Education Center in New Zealand. We've tried to work, and apparently looking at what we did was good. But at the end of the day, still people needed to speak as soon as they leave the classroom. So this program and this whole agenda we're putting together here is to get the person and the people to speak the language. Maybe in the first 5 minutes they get in there. So in the long run, I want them to speak. So we start with simple conversations and the conversations that come up daily, so they can hear it every day and then sort of pick it up from there.
I was very impressed and a little bit nervous in the first class in the last session. I think, and Naki and I had talked about this, I think we were 3 or 4 minutes in from the very start of the class, and we were standing up and speaking Samoan to the class, and the class was speaking back to us. So it was kind of it was an icebreaker and kind of a message that, hey, you're going to speak the language and you're going to have the language spoken to you. Is there certain pieces that you look forward to? There's so much in the cultural side that you present. In the format that I had seen earlier, is the first hour was language and the second hour was culture. Are there pieces, new pieces of the culture, or are you going to touch on the ones that you already have, or what's your idea for those?
We're going to touch on what we've already have, because I know if there's new people that are coming in, it'll be good to let them know why we do these and how. And, it's good for them to understand, especially what's being practiced here. And also in comparison to how it was in the original Samoan style, so that whenever they go and they see if something changes, that it doesn't shock them, like, that's not how they do it. Well, we all measure everything back to how the original Sua or all that culture, which we do now. So it's good, but we will touch on those, because those are the things that people see every day. And I know that the more I look into it, the more things I remember and the more I learn about it as well. So it's a learning experience for me, as well as a sharing experience for me. But I know that I want to go into the Matai things as well. So if any of those people that do turn up, the Matais, then I will go into that as well. So yeah, it's a big field, and we're Samoa. We're in the Pacific Ocean. It's a deep ocean and wide.
One of the things that, and I still haven't figured it out, we had talked about this on the podcast, and we've talked about it with a lot of the people that are in the class. You're able to reach such a wide variety of the people in the audience. So you have Matais, you have people all the way down to that, are really just trying to learn enunciations and the vowels and those kind of things. So you have all different levels of proficiency, and each level is learning something at the same time. And I still haven't really figured out how you're able to teach with so many different levels in the class and keep everybody involved and engaged. Was that something that you thought about when you put the classes together, having everybody in one room?
Well, that's why we have it at church, because we depend on the miraculous. So while I'm doing the teaching, I think, the Spirit is diverting the message to reach each person at their own level. But I think with the proficiency and the not so proficiency and those who have just begun, the level is so good for everyone. Everyone can relate to it. But if you're a little bit proficient, you can help the person who has just begun. Because I know that the beginning of the class, the classmates getting to know each other and being strangers to each other, that was sort of barrier. You could feel that people weren't comfortable to speak because they're all strangers to each other. But if we have these people that know the language help those who have just begun, it sort of breaks that ice and creates a relationship that will make everyone learn freely. That's the idea.
Well, it's done really well, and I think that especially the ones that aren't proficient, they're taught real quickly that it's okay, and that there's people to help them. Not only the person at the front of the class, but the people sitting next to them. So these are, do they still run from 7 to 9?
7 to 8 is the language, and 8 to 9 is the culture.
Okay. So classes begin on June 7th.
Yes, sir, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, and they are at the church. Do you know the address of the church?
3715 26th Street, but park at the back of the church on Cesar Chavez.
There is a parking lot on the backside on Cesar Chavez, so make sure that you're parking in the back. 7 to 8 o'clock is the language, and 8 to 9 is the culture. It's an amazing class, and we look forward to going back through that with you again.
I'm an amazing guy. You see? Yeah. It'll be amazing. Thanks.